Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is January 18th, 2023. It is 7 p.m. We are meeting at the Town Hall, 135 School Street in Walpole. We have three cases in front of us tonight. The first case we're going to hear is 22-27, 931 Main Street Realty Trust. This is a special permit under Section 84C of the zoning bylaws to allow less than the minimum parking requirements. This has been continued from our previous meeting on December 7th, 2022. The applicant, please step forward and identify yourself for the board and let us know where we stand.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Phil Mackey, 1256 Washington Street, Norwood, Massachusetts. This is Counsel for on behalf of the applicant. I am respectfully requesting to withdraw without prejudice. The planning board has approved the site plan and the process which we alluded to at our first meeting. We didn't know which way they were going. They asked us to flip the traffic pattern, and we picked up an extra spot, and therefore that obviated the request to reduce the required parking by 1. So we would ask that we withdraw without prejudice. I don't anticipate refiling, but things can always change.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any comments? So we would like to close the hearing and vote on that, and then we can vote on the withdrawal without prejudice. Voting tonight will be Mark Major as an alternate, and he'll be sitting in since the chairman is absent here tonight. All those, can I get a motion to please close case number 22-27, 931 Main Street Realty Trust, excuse me.
So moved.
Moved by Judy.
Second.
Second by Bob. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Jack, abstain. Motion carried. Next vote we'll have is to withdraw the application without prejudice for case number 22-27. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Judy, second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next case we're going to hear is case number 22-4, Thomas J. Powers, 132, 136, 140 Washington Street. This is a special permit under Section 5B13G of the Walpole zoning bylaws to allow for a 3-story, 6-unit mixed-use residential development within the business zoning district. This has also been continued from December 7th. The applicant, please step forward and introduce yourself and let us know where we stand.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dan Merrick with Legacy Engineering. I think, as you know, we've been working with the Conservation Commission. We appeared before them at their December meeting. They were pleased with the project, but the conservation agent at that point was out sick and has been out for various reasons the last few weeks. So I've only been able to meet with her just this afternoon. So there are some questions that have been raised by Mass DEP as part of their review process of the notice of intent, and we need to just work through a few issues. So my preference would be to continue this to your February 15th meeting, if that's okay with the board. That way I can be sure that the plan that you're seeing is, you know, the final plan.
I don't have a problem. Does any other members have anything?
No. Good.
Motion to continue, can I please have a motion to continue case number 22-4 for February 15th?
So moved.
Moved by Judy, second by Tim.
Do you have a question?
I'm
I do
sorry.
have a question. You'll have plans to us well in advance
Correct.
of the 15th?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
At 7 o'clock at Town Hall. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
very
Have a
much.
good night.
Next case is case number 22-31. Gradam LLC. This is at 2250 Boston Providence Highway. It's a special permit under the zoning bylaws, section 5B14, to allow the use and expansion of an animal or veterinary hospital within the highway business district. Can the applicant step forward? Introduce yourself. We have a couple department letters too, but.
Sure. Again, Phil Mackey, 1256 Washington Street, Norwood, Massachusetts. Counsel for on behalf of the applicant. Before I launch into my presentation, I'm happy to listen to the letters or whichever you prefer, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'll just read these real quick. Actually, I only see one, but I thought there was one from the health department as well.
There's actually 5 of them. So
Sorry.
to the left of your packet, there was a just recent letter from the town engineer.
I got that one.
You got that one?
Yeah, thank you.
You should also find a letter from Paul Berry, Deputy Fire Chief, a letter from the Board of Health dated January 11th, 2023, comments from Luke Parlin of the Police Department dated January 13th, 2023, as well as just a staff report which was produced by Thorin, Mitchell Kasky. Chelsea. So.
Okay. So I'll start with the Walpole Fire Department. This is a letter from Paul Berry, Deputy Fire Chief. The fire department has reviewed the plans and application for the above noted location. We have the following preliminary comments to offer the board regarding the applicant's request for site plan approval and special permit. A sweep path analysis has been submitted to the Walpole Fire Department separately. We request the proposed new access egress be opened up more to prevent us from having to travel in the opposite lane of travel. Swept path analysis is for the reconfiguration of the existing building. Parking area needs to be shown. Why is the proposed direction of travel opposite the normal flow in reconfiguring the existing building parking area? The swept path analysis will need to be stamped and signed. Landscaping will need to take into consideration overgrowth in the access areas, access lanes. We request the applicant show the proposed location of the fire department connection for the fire sprinkler system. We request the applicant utilize a master key system. The building design, construction, and protection must comply with 527 CMR 1 2021 edition. The next letter department we have is from the Board of Health. The Board of Health has no objections to the special permit requested, barring any issues with the septic system application review and/or septic system installation. And the last comment is from Carl Baldoff, Town Engineer. The office has received the following: an 11-sheet 24 by 36 plan set titled Site Development Plans, Proposed Veterinary Neurology and Pain Management Center, Boston Providence Highway, Route 1, Walpole, Mass., dated October 28th, 2022 by Glossa Engineering, East Walpole, Massachusetts. A digital request for comments through the viewpoint system on or about December 16th, 2022. Various other applications materials, including an application project narrative, a butters list, and architectural elevations for the proposed addition. We have reviewed and previously provided site plan and aquifer special permit comments to the planning board and land disturbance comments to the Conservation Commission. While our comments are several, much of the review relates to providing missing plan information and construction detail. These items have been reviewed with the design engineer and resolution completion has been agreed upon. The current design fully mitigates the stormwater related to the addition. However, the designer has agreed to add or improve to the existing drainage system in the front of the building. This mitigates our only major concern, therefore we have no other comments or concerns regarding. Caption roll? This is from
Luke Parlin, Police Department.
Harlan, the Police Department. The attached plans have been reviewed for any impact on public safety and quality of life. The Walpole Police Department does not have any public safety concerns in relation to traffic in the case filed with the Town of Walpole Zoning Board. Those are all the comments we have from departments.
Yep.
Please continue with your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Happy New Year, Mr. Mackey.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, board members. Basically, you may or may not be aware or familiar with the existing veterinary practice that's where the old Funway driving range used to be. Back in 2013, and I skipped over my usual disclaimer, I am going to go through this, but I am not going to read it to you. I'm going to talk through it, and of course, clearly, if there are any questions, I'll answer them as they come up. So again, back to talking about the current, what's there, what this is. It's an existing veterinary practice. Dr. Kuby bought the practice back in 2013-ish. And at the time, it was determined that it was functionally a doctor's office, and therefore, unless she expanded the building, limited site plan, and that route administratively was the route to go. We are happy to say that several years later, it is time to expand. And that was always with the understanding we would be here because in the Highway Business District, you need a special permit for the use of animal or veterinary hospital. And we are going from ideally doctor's office to, in fact, a hospital. The locus is entirely within the Highway Business District, and it's also within Area 3. As was mentioned, kind of sideways in the fire department letter, we are also in front of the planning board for site plan approval and impervious coverage special permit under section 12, and we'll be addressing that tomorrow night. And so while I'm at the comments of the fire department, because they're the only ones who really gave you anything substantive, we agree with them all, but that is really for a different board. And I am sure Mr. Conroy et al. Will have a lot to discuss about that, and we don't anticipate there being any issues with accommodating those requests, but that's not really why I'm here tonight. So again, we know the locations, the corner of Fox Hill Drive and Route 1 on the northbound side. It's, for all intents and purposes, in a heavy commercial area. And the one thing I do want to bring up in a kind of background area is Dr. Kuby owns under Gratum LLC 2 different lots. One's in Foxborough, one's in Walpole. They adjoin, and when it was a driving range, they were all part of one big site plan because the balls were hit from Walpole and Foxborough. What we are doing with the site plan that is currently in front of the planning board, and hopefully by the time the whole process is done, we are separating the 2 lots. So everything in Walpole will be on one site plan and have nothing to do with what's in Foxborough. To do that, just for informational purposes, we are removing about the size of this room of pavement from the multiple acres in Foxborough, because the old parking lot had a fairly funky design. We don't need it, doesn't help us, so that's going to be cut off, and at the end of the day, the lot in Walpole, which is a fully conforming lot, will be buildable, permitted, and regulated by the town of Walpole with no lead over to Foxborough or vice versa. So that's basically what we have right now and what we're planning on doing. To give some background, because this actually will filter into the special permit criteria, and it took me a while to understand this as well. And Dr. Kuby apologizes she couldn't be here tonight, and I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what took her away. The hospital, as it were, is a specialty hospital. I didn't know such a thing existed until about a month ago when I started working on this. What she does, and I'm going to probably butcher half of this, orthopedics, medical radiation, and oncology, ophthalmology, MRIs, CT, X-ray imaging, and there may at some point be an urgent care component to this as well. But the bulk of her work is all medical imaging. So this isn't a hospital that has people, it doesn't compete with your normal veterinary practice. She's not a primary care doctor. She's a specialist. So basically, they anticipate on a good day they're going to have 18 patients from 9 to 5. So it's not a huge volume. And they are going to have been scheduled because they're coming in from one of these procedures. The question comes up, so to put it delicately for cable access TV here, the animals have fasted before they get there. So there isn't, this came up the last time I had to do this, there isn't a huge waste problem. They don't board them, they don't groom them. This is literally a very specialized type of care for the majority of her hospital. The urgent care, again, isn't meant to be or supplement or compete with any of the veterinary practices in Walpole. What they're actually trying to do prospectively is have a place that if you have an emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have someplace to bring your dog or cat, which currently, apparently you have to drive to Dedham, or if you're lucky, you can get into Tufts. So again, not a huge driver of traffic, and most likely the need for that would not be during business hours or peak hours, because something's wrong with your dog, you're going to bring her to your vet. That's at least the idea. So the building itself is getting much bigger, the practice is expanding, but it's not going to be the equivalent of Mass General for pets. It's still a, relatively speaking, traffic and impact-wise, low impact, low volume use of the area. And I would note that, because people ask this all the time, 99% plus of her patients are dogs and cats. So there's no exotic animals, no animals that you would not normally think of as household pets in and around Walpole. As a side note, Dr. Kuby is on several boards of several zoos, so she has made house calls, or zoo calls, I should say. So if something at the Franklin Park Zoo needs an MRI, she'll go there. It doesn't come, whatever the animal is, to Walpole. So she is well-versed in this, but the Walpole location really is a dog-cat domestic pet hospital. And I had no idea before we started this that you could be so specialized, but apparently this day and age, everything is special. So to go through the special permit criteria, and one of the reasons I gave you that long introduction is I can now get through the criteria a little bit quicker. The first criteria you have to look at is are there any special provisions for the special permit we're asking for, and in this regard there are not. The special permit is found in the table of uses and therefore is just governed, there is no additional sections, so it's just governed by the standard criteria. The first of which is shall not have vehicle or pedestrian traffic of type or quantity so as to adversely affect the immediate neighborhood. Again, we're on the corner of Route 1, and even if you doubled their expected and you have 36 trips in an 8-hour period, that is a traffic level that will have absolutely no impact on any level of service or anything else on Route 1. We provided a traffic report from Gillum and Associates that effectively said that, although it took a couple of pages.
Question? Can I ask you a question since we're on the topic?
Absolutely.
So 18 patients roughly, and it looks like about 18 staff members as well. But yet proposing 100 parking spaces, it seems on its face a little like a lot for that level of use. So I was curious about the decision to build the 100 spaces and what that you intend that to be used for.
So, Mr. Chairman, my name is John Glassa, Glassa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. So they overlap, though, kind of like a doctor's office. So it's not as if there's 18 and then 18 all at the same time. They kind of come, they're going to wait while the appointment for the people in front of them is over, and then those people leave, they go in. So it's not 36 people. It's more like 70 cars could be there at any one time.
So it's not 18
It's not,
patients
it's
per
not
day?
18 and, well, it is, it's, so my understanding, it's about 4 or 5 procedures for each patient, for each doctor, each day. So, and a procedure could simply be an MRI or something as simple as that, or it could be more involved. But the way it's been explained to me is they need enough spaces so that during the overlap, people aren't parked out on Fox Hill Drive. So that's why there's that number of spaces.
Okay, and there's still no plan to lease spaces or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
that was pretty much it. Kind of looking through the notes that she gave me, and again, she's trying to be cognizant, and large parts of the day, it's kind of like Black Friday at the mall. Although lately, even that doesn't fill up. But, for that one period that everybody shows up, you don't want them parking on Route 1. So we have to make sure that there's plenty there. And that was really, I think, the genesis of that. The second criteria, or third, however you want to look at it, is discussing the number of residents, employees, or visitors. We pretty much just discussed that, so if you have any further questions, but I think the two go part and parcel. The fourth criteria is to comply with the dimensional regulations. We would submit, the zoning table speaks for itself. The only dimension we do not comply with is the 15% impervious coverage, and again, that is the subject of a special permit from the planning board tomorrow. However, even with our special permit, we are well under what is allowed in the underlying zoning district at Highway Business, which is 90 overall, and I think we're in the 16 or 17% range. So we're well within, I think, reasonable limits for the Highway Business District. The next criteria talks about dangers to the immediate neighborhood through fire, explosion, emission of waste, or other causes. One of the reasons I discussed what I had before, there really are no fumes, fire, explosion, or waste issues associated with this use. Everything that does come out of the hospital is regulated as medical waste, assuming it's not just normal office trash. Heavily monitored by the Board of Health, a variety of other agencies. So we would submit that we are well within the criteria for this note as well. As far as noise, vibration, dust, heat, smoke, fumes, odor, or glare, again, everything is happening within the building. There is a small area to walk the pets should they need to go outside, which is monitored, policed up. But as far as actual work, if you will, everything is inside. There's actually going to be no impact discernible to anybody outside of the building. And then as far as talking about the character of the immediate neighborhood, if you look at the immediate neighborhood, directly across is a self-storage facility. And at least every time I've been on site to look around, no one's been there other than I think the attendant. Across the street, you have a couple of restaurants. There's a strip mall or strip office building. I wouldn't say it's mall that has, oddly enough, feed store, groomer, and veterinary. So there's a actual compatible use. It's Route 1, so you can't immediately go across the street, but in the area, this is absolutely fitting in. And if you've looked at the plans and renderings we supplied, I think you will find that this building itself has been designed to, at bare minimum, look as good, if not, in my opinion, personally, look better than most of the buildings around there. And then the immediate abutter is the currently closed, I think the last version of it was Olive and Mint. I still call it Dimitri's, and the function hall. And I don't know this for sure, but I believe that the state of the Panagopoulos are in talks with, if not already, selling that to probably another storage concern. So I think this again fits, and actually probably better than some of the self-storage. Not that there's anything wrong with self-storage, but Highway Business is for business. This is an actual business, not just a place to put your stuff. So I believe we can comply with that, and that is part and parcel. The criteria your board has to make a decision on, and respectfully, I think for this particular case, we meet all of them with flying colors. I'm certainly happy to discuss or answer any questions.
I guess I could start with, so you mentioned that there'll be radiology done on the premises?
Yes.
And is there any special containment or anything like that as far as any, I mean, being over the Area 3 overlay there, is that taken into consideration with that?
There is nothing in the, currently they do MRIs on site, it's in a trailer.
Okay.
So if anything, this will be an upgrade because it will be on top of a concrete slab between it and the watershed. But imaging itself doesn't produce anything that can get in the watershed. And for that matter, we actually went through the list of hazardous waste and chemicals, because my first question was, do we trigger other Section 12 special permits? We don't.
Okay. I thought I saw on the plans there was an area for euthanizing dogs or animals, is that,
Yes.
okay, does that emit any sort of fumes or odors or anything like that? Is it vented to the outside or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I can't tell you, but, I mean, I'm not a doctor, so
Yeah.
but to the best of my knowledge, it's done by a shot.
Okay. And then, are there any sort of fencing or anything proposed in front? I'm just thinking of somebody walking their dog in there and getting off a leash and running out into Route 1 or anything like that?
I don't believe so.
It's a good question, but the answer is we don't show any fencing along the front of the property. So I don't, it's unfortunate Dr. Kuby's not here, but I don't, she's never reported to me, and I've been working with her since 2013. So she's never reported to me, and I know it's a much smaller operation, but that there's any problems. I mean, these people have their dogs
Yeah.
leashed when they get out of the car, so I don't believe there's ever been any problems.
Do any other board members have any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a few. So the nature of the discharge to the septic system, is that just completely sanitary waste?
Yes.
So no lab waste, nothing else goes in?
It's not allowed, it's illegal.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Do you have, or do you need a Mass DOT permit for, since you abut the state highway there, or is that?
Can't get a curb cut permit until we have an approved site plan. Because the state doesn't want to approve something that the town won't. So once we finish with the planning board, we will have to apply to them, because we will be modifying the curb cut, and I think we're close enough to the highway that's going to require it.
Okay. And this just out of curiosity, it looks like it's a single-story building, but it's 34 feet in height. Is that right?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that was.
Yep, they have, to put some architectural interest into it, you've got a couple areas that have kind of cathedral ceilings, I guess, at that height.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't look like a flat, unappealing building. So to do that, we threw some height up there.
The architecturals look really, really good. So. Yeah, those are the only questions I had.
Question. Phil, you mentioned the possible expansion of urgent care.
Yes.
Is that something you need to come back to us for?
I don't think so,
expand?
because that is all covered under hospital. There's no separate use. And we are showing the expansion, the total build-out on the site plan. So the question would be, if for some reason we didn't build that, we would actually build a smaller building. We can only go smaller, I can't go bigger.
Right, right.
But we're showing the planning board everything that would accommodate that. So basically what's going to happen is the new addition, the 17 and change thousand square foot piece, is where Dr. Kuby is going to move her entire hospital practice, which leaves the existing building and potentially a small addition behind it, if you will, on the other side from the highway, so not towards the street, but behind it, open for potentially urgent care. And if that didn't happen, then she'd have extra office space.
Right, so, the hours of operation that you're applying
The hours of
for,
operation could expand,
8
yes.
to 5, so with an expansion of urgent care, that, as you said, it could be 2 in the morning, so
Right.
is that anything we need to address at this point in time?
I don't think so, as there's nothing in the
No, I mean,
bylaw. I'll defer to
Yeah,
Pat.
It wouldn't be for this. Really, what the board's looking at is just solely the use. So if there's something that goes along with the condition being the hours of operation, I believe that may end up falling to the planning board's purview under site plan review as a condition. But for the boards looking at this is really just the use of an animal veterinary hospital and the special permit criteria that Attorney Mackey went through.
okay. And you mentioned a list of hazardous materials. Did you get everything in there but the kitchen sink, just in case technology changes and other chemicals come forward that are used in veterinary
So
services?
we took a look at everything she has, everything she thinks she's going to have, and we didn't meet any of the triggers, so we're not applying. As again, this is monitored both by the Walpole Board of Health, by the state, and a variety of other agencies, because there is imaging. If at some point the chemicals or materials change so that they do become carcinogenic or bioaccumulating or any of the horribles, we'd have to come back
Okay.
either to this board or the planning board. I'm not entirely sure which one would have jurisdiction for a special permit, or...
So you're
not.
covered for now with the existing conditions
We are.
of what they use and what
Yes.
ends up being waste product? Okay, thank you.
Just, Mr. Chairman, one question, just to confirm, is she planning on doing any, like, net new services that she's not currently doing? And just looking at her website, looks like she's already doing most of the
I
stuff.
don't think so. I mean, the urgent care would be new if she does that, but you'd be bringing in other doctors for that. Her specialties, I guess, for lack of better words, don't change. She's licensed for what she's licensed, and to the best of my knowledge,
Expansion of the
it's just
practice.
bigger.
Bigger, nicer,
um,
better.
And easier, and, again, like I said, she's doing MRIs, but they're out of a trailer. So let's get them in a building that's, more conducive for everybody.
Tim?
The only thing I was thinking of was lighting, but that has nothing to do with us. That would be the planning board, right? Lighting and signage off of Route 1.
Yeah, that would be correct. I mean, if it's involving the site plan review, that's really
Yeah, I
within the
didn't think it had
permit.
anything to do with us. Okay.
If it's
I'm good.
impacting one of the conditions, for sure, you could discuss it, but really the design would be through site plan review.
Okay.
At this point, because we aren't asking for any variances or other relief, the signs will all comply to the bylaw. And tomorrow we'll be going over lighting, but I think I'm safe to say that there might be a little bit of spillage onto Fox Hill Drive, but there's also a street light right there. So if anything, we're helping, not hurting.
Are there any conditions or anything that anyone sees fit? Other than department comments?
Well, I think, I don't know if we should continue until their site plan is approved, and see what comes out of that process, if the plans change and things like that. I don't have any at the moment.
Okay. You guys in agreement with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think moving forward, we'd probably like to continue the hearing until the site plan is done, the site plan review.
Well, as long as it's closer. They won't close until they know that we can do this use.
So, just a suggestion, I thought about this as well. We had a recent project at 173 High Plain Street, and there's, I guess, weighing in terms of the way the decision is written and how you reference the plan of record. Usually, the planning board, through site plan review, that plan of record is the plan of record. And if it's recorded on the special permit, the ZBA, sometimes you're in a situation where you need to come back and revise that. So the wording is really just kind of the key here. If you were to approve something before the site plan review process is done, and if you were to reference the plan that's presented, you would want to also tie into, as referencing the plan of record, and then subsequent to any provision that is finalized through the planning board, so long as it does not interfere with the special permit criteria through the zoning board. Kind of follow what I'm saying? So essentially, where the planning board's decision through site plan review is the final plan of record, sometimes the zoning board can be done before that, and there's changes to that site plan. But those changes may not impact the actual use, or may not interfere with any, it may not be any subsequent relief that's needed. So how you word that in a decision, you want to be sure to reference that the final plan of record is the plan that will be subsequently approved by the planning board, so long as it does not interfere with the use or with the relief granted in the special permit. Just a suggestion. I know that the board has done different things in the past, but that might be a way to kind of go around that.
That it change as a result of site board, I guess, just to clarify?
Yeah, so long as it does not interfere with.
But who makes the determination whether it interferes with the relief they need for this special permit?
Yeah, I guess the relief of this is really just the use of a veterinary hospital. It's not the similar, it's not a,
Well, but there's all the criteria deal with, shall not have, there's, like, to Tim's point about lighting and stuff, there's, part of the special permit criteria deals with, shall not create noise, bobbity-bob, glare, or other nuisance or hazard. So, I'm not suggesting that there's going to become an issue with us if the planning board is okay with it, but I don't know how we can open-endedly just say, somebody's going to have to decide whether or not the changes that the planning board has made affect our findings under these criteria.
gotcha.
And if it's not us, I don't think it's legal, frankly. But anyway, that's just my thought on it.
So if I may, because we want to work with you. And I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, you almost never close in one night. I love it, but I totally understand the reticence, especially as we haven't actually had a meeting with the planning board. I have no problem keeping this open so that we can come back and I can represent to you, hey, we're through the process or getting there. But as I alluded to, and Pat also did, I'm going to need your approval before the planning board is going to grant me site plan approval, because they shouldn't be giving me an approval to build something that's not allowed. So normally what happens is we get pretty close to the end, and I can say this is pretty much it. And so, Bob, to your question, I mean, you have to take me at my word a little bit, but you can watch on TV the very next night. That, hey, we're here, but for maybe some ministerial changes that Carl wants, I don't know, a detail on a sump pump drawn differently. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So I have no problem continuing it, and then, hopefully next time we're here, I can say, hey, we've had a meeting, we've incorporated all the changes, would you please grant the permit? And then I can go back to the planning board and say, we have approval, they can give me site plan approval, and we're all done. If that makes more sense to you guys.
Yeah.
I think it would alleviate some question on the process here, so I certainly don't object to that. Did any of the members have any issues with that?
I just think it adds more time, because we're gonna.
It will
they're
add
gonna
more
meet,
time, yes.
Then we're gonna meet, then we're gonna meet, then the planning board's gonna meet, so you're adding 6 weeks to the applicant's project. I don't know. I think I think I already got taken to the woodshed once on use, so this is a use. We're not gonna comment on lights, as much as I like to talk about the wrong way direction, that's not my sandbox. So our sandbox is the use. It's allowed, and Phil just gave us a lovely missalette, I guess, of why it is. It's in the use table, and I think all the boxes are checked. So I feel comfortable just saying yes and let the planning board do their thing tomorrow night, and let them talk about lighting and.
I mean, I think I'd be okay with that as long as our decision doesn't say something as loose as, whatever the planning board says, so long as it doesn't affect our decision, you know, like.
No, not in the findings itself, but when you reference the plan of record. So if the plan of record is going to change,
Right.
and then if down the line, Mr. Mackey goes to record that at the registry of deeds and they're not matching up, you find yourself in a situation where do I need to amend the decision for something that isn't really impacting the use that I sought the relief for? I just bring that up because this current project is going through the same thing. So it wouldn't be within the findings itself. The findings would still be obviously how we would judge how the board would judge the project. But I guess where you reference the actual site plan in your decisions.
You could put in a condition, which we would have no problem with, that once the final site plan is approved, we substitute that with your files. So it's not actually getting recorded at the registry of deeds.
No, not the
We
site
don't-
plan, no,
yeah.
but the decision, so.
Right,
yeah.
the decision will be on record,
Yeah.
but I have no problem giving you the final actual plan of record for your file so that you all have it.
So the plan of record we have right now is October 28th, 2022? Correct? Okay.
Correct. With
Or
as revised as
Oh,
December
12,
16.
17,
Yep.
7, 16? I can't read it small. Yeah, okay.
Small font. We are willing to work with the board however you see fit.
I don't see a problem with the use, I guess. I'm in favor of the project, and I think I'm comfortable with proceeding forward tonight and closing the hearing, and just so long as we, like you said, record the current plan set.
I think the suggestion from Attorney Mackey about having the final plan of record to be added to the board's filing as a condition would probably be a way to alleviate any concerns there.
I mean, we want you to have the same, I want everyone to
Oh,
have
yeah.
the same plan at the end of this, so that we don't start doing
That
one
would
of
be
these.
nice.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Those are, again, just subject to how we word the decision. I just don't want to have any language that suggests somebody else is deciding whether its any changes of, are being determined to comply with our own. special
Correct,
permit
yeah,
obligation.
I follow you and agree with
Yeah.
you there. It's more or less just the plan of record.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess subsequent to no changes in use at any point throughout the final approvals, or if something changes and you want to use it as a parking lot to park cars for stadium or something.
Noticed someone else come into the audience. Is there anyone who wants to speak?
She's with me.
Okay, just checking.
It's Nadine Bailey, our newest associate.
Okay. Any further comments from the board? Would you like to close the hearing?
I would love to close the hearing. Yes, please.
Can I please have a motion to close case number 22-31?
So moved?
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Can please have a motion to approve case number 22-31 with respect to the property at 2250 Boston Providence Highway, Walpole, Mass, map 53, lot 37, zoning district highway business for section 5B14 to allow for the use and expansion of an animal or veterinary hospital within the highway business zoning district with the current plan set of site development plans, proposed veterinary neurology and pain management center, Boston Providence Highway, Route 1, Walpole, Mass, October 28th, 2022, with a revision date of December 16th, 2022. And a condition of the final plan of record being submitted to the ZBA at a later date.
So moved?
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Patrick, there was some information here regarding Wall Street Development. Do you want
Excuse
to? Sorry.
Do I,
Uh,
I saw that, so,
Well, it's technically public, this is public record, and this isn't really anything relative to,
Cruz. I'll
Through
step
the-
down, I mean, I'll step down anyway, I'll just,
if you want to.
I'll step down for a minute.
Okay.
I'm recusing myself during this conversation.
So, essentially what's before you is a ruling from the Housing Appeals Committee in regards to the appeal from Wall Street Development of the board's denial of the Burns Avenue 40B project, I believe from May of 2022. To kind of cut to the chase, they ruled in the board's favor in the sense that the applicant's belief that his changes were minor in nature was not founded, and that those would constitute a major modification and would need to likely be remanded to the board. And so, that being said, this is something that is still not finalized between the town and with the applicant and the Housing Appeals Committee. I'm sorry, the Housing Appeals Committee. So that information it will be forthcoming. So the actual remand notice has not been issued yet. This is just mostly the ruling of the Housing Appeals Committee. So I guess, and just to sum it up, it's something that the board should be aware of, that this is likely coming in the next few weeks, a remand notice from the Housing Appeals Committee in regards to this case, at which time we will need to go through the process of issuing a public hearing notice and opening a new public hearing, or I guess opening a public hearing for the new proposal. I don't want to say too much right now, just because I want to make sure we actually have the remand notice first before saying any specifics like that. But that is, in general terms, what is probably expected within the next few weeks.
Yeah, just in looking at the conclusion, it looks like there's also an instruction to focus just on the changes between the prior plan and this new plan and not kind of start from scratch.
Correct, and that's consistent with the last remand order as well.
Right.
So, but I will be probably notifying the board once I hear more from town council in terms of the remand notice, and then we'll be able to go through the process of advertising and getting ready for the opening of a new public hearing. But until then, this is all we have. So. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Lastly, the minutes review from January 4th. I was going to push those till the next meeting to allow Chairman Lee to comment if he had any comments regarding that.
Okay.
I think we can close. Motion, anyone have any other comments or questions?
I do. Patrick, do you want to mention that you went to the select board?
Yeah. So at the
And I was there too.
Yes, at the select board's January 10th meeting, I was able to present the ZBA's suggested amendments to the in-law suite bylaw. The select board did take a vote to sponsor the article, and that's where it sits at the moment. So, Yeah, I mean, so in this situation, yeah, it would have to go, it would have to, be in a zoning article, would have to go to the planning board for a public hearing. And then obviously, the planning board could take a vote to endorse or not, and then, it still can move forward to town meeting. But it's on the warrant, or it should be on the warrant. Got in at the deadline, so.
We were up there for a while.
Got a lot to talk about.
Well, the board had a lot of questions, which I was surprised at, but,
They did, they
and,
did.
like, that's it, I'll leave it at that, but, I don't know, it just, Jim Johnson seemed shocked at some of the comments and some of the things, when you all sat with him, John, Drew, you, and the building inspector, and, Jim's last comment was something to the effect of, well, we gotta meet again and make sure we gotta meet, like it's the first time he heard it, so he wants to go over it with a fine tooth comb, and I'm like, okay. I didn't get that. It was no surprise to him what we were presenting, was, I guess, my point, but see what we come up with at the hearing.
If there's no other comments or information, I guess, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Judy, second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Opposed.